Welcome back to the channel where we continue on with our Power BI exercises, and today we're going to show you how to do a merge. Now, a merge is when you capture data from one table and bring it over into another table, making that table wider. And a lot of times you'll use this for your lookup tables because your lookup tables have your dimensions, and those are the ones that you're going to be filtering out your data. So we're going to do an example of between a products table and a sales table, and we're going to pull over the cost, which currently resides in the product table, and bring that over to the sales fact table so that we can capture that and have that for every single product key item. Let's go to Power BI. Back in Power BI, and we are in the report view, and this day we are going to take a look at how to do a merge. And a merge works like a VLOOKUP. We're going to use this in the context. In this data set, we have a sales table. We also have a product data table, and the column that is connecting the two is a product key. That's what we're going to use as the primary key to identify what we want to pull over in the data merge. Now, the standard cost is what we're trying to bring over from the product data to the sales data. Now, in your Power BI workflow, this is considered part of the first part of the workflow, which is importing your data and setting up your data model. So what we're doing here is we're going to go straight to the transform data, bring in our two tables, and then we're going to start to do the merge and try to bring in the standard cost table. So this time around, we're going to connect to a new source. It is an Excel workbook, and we have an AdventureWorks data set from Microsoft, and we are going to open that up, and we're going to have some formatted tables. And remember, when you use formatted tables, that makes it easier. We did a video on how to bring in data from Excel with a formatted table. This time around, we want to look at the product table, and we want to look at the sales table. And the key thing here that connects these two tables, if you're in the sales table, you see the product key. And then if we go to the product table, we see the product key. So that is what's going to be connecting. First, we need to import these two tables, and we now have two queries. The two queries are called product and they're called sales. And the first one is product key. And in that product key, we're going to connect those with a merge. Now, the sales table does not have what we're looking for. And what we're looking for is this column standard cost. We want to bring that to the sales table. Remember, when you merge data, you're making tables wider. And our lookup table is going to be the product table in this example. And the appending queries, which we did a video on that, is when you make tables longer, when you add rows to a table. So we're going to make tables wider, and we want to bring them into the sales table. So we're going to click on the sales table. And again, this is similar to a VLOOKUP if you're from Excel theory. And we're going to do a merge queries. It gives you two options: merge queries as new and merge queries. Those are the two options inside the merge queries. And in this option, we're going to just merge queries. We're going to bring it from the product table into the sales table. And so we're going to select merge queries, and that is going to bring us up a input column. And it says select a table and a matching column to merge cells to the merge table. So we have the sales table. The table we want to connect is the product table. Now we need to identify the primary key. The primary key is the product key. That is what we have in each table. And what we're going to be doing is it's going to estimate the number of matches, all from the first matching from the second. And what you want it to show is all the rows match. 121,253 rows match. That means for every single product key in the sales table, we found a match, and we should, because every single product in the product table does have a cost, and now we're bringing that into the sales table. So it's a left outer join, and we're joining by the product key, and it matched all 121,253 rows from the first table, which is the sales table. And what we're going to do now is bring that in there, and now it brings up the two arrows, which allows us to pick all of the tables, all of the columns are now going to show up. And what we want to do is we want to uncheck the use original column name as the prefix. We want to unselect all. And what we want to bring in is the standard cost. Now we could bring in other things as well. We could bring in things like color. We could bring in the list price. We could bring in the model if we wanted those other things. But in this example, we are going to bring in the standard cost. And all we need to do now is check the OK box, and the standard cost is now brought in to this table. We've completed the merge. We now have our cost, the standard cost, from the product table into the sales table. And as a data analysis, this is part of the extracting and transforming and loading data portion, which is the first flow of the Power BI. And you always want to check your work. So what we're going to do now is filter the product key in the product table to number 349. And that is going to filter out, and the standard cost is $1898.0944. And now we go to the sales table and we filter by 349. And what we're going to check here is to make sure that the standard cost is the $1898.0944. And that is correct. The standard cost has been brought into the sales table. And we did that by doing a merge of the product key. We took everything from the product table to the sales table using the primary key. And that allowed us to do the merge, and it matched all 121,000 rows in the file. So we recently did a video on the append, which makes rows longer. You can watch that video. And when you do a merge, you make the tables wider, and this is definitely something you're going to want to be using and get to know your different merges and also your appending of data files in Power BI. It saves you a lot of time rather than writing some formulas like you do in Excel, having to write VLOOKUP or even the new XLOOKUP. By using your importing of data, quick doing a merge, it allowed us to quick basically bring that into that column, and we could either start to calculate total costs, product cost, total order cost, sales, things like that with some of the different measures once we build out the full model and set up the relationships. But this currently now is the key that we'd want to use in this sales table if we needed that product cost column. Don't forget, we also did a recent series on some data visualizations. We did it on the bar chart, and we also did it on the line chart, and also a card if you want to start learning more about data visualization as we continue on with our Power BI series.